Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into a fascinating white grape. It's been making waves, Assyrtiko.
That's right. From Greece specifically, but gaining traction everywhere.
Exactly. We pulled together some great material articles just titled Assyrtiko and another Assyrtiko, a complete analysis from a sommelier's perspective.
hmm
And our mission really is to dig into what makes this grape tick, what's important, what's interesting for you to know.
Yeah, to really understand its unique character, because it is unique.
It seems deeply connected to Santorini, that island, right?
Yeah,
And it makes these, well, apparently quite serious, age-worthy wines.
absolutely. That connection to Santorini is fundamental. But it's also got this, in strength, this ability to age beautifully. It's fascinating seeing a grape so tied to one place capture global attention. It really stands out.
Okay, so let's trace it back. Origins. Where did Assyrtiko actually, start? What do the sources say?
Well, consensus is pretty strong. All the signs, history, vine studies, even genetics, they all point quite firmly to Santorini. It seems to have evolved there over, well, centuries, adapting perfectly to that very specific volcanic environment.
Are there other ideas about where it came from?
There are, yeah, some marginal theories about other islands maybe being the origin point, but honestly, the evidence for Santorini is just much, much stronger. That link is solid.
So Santorini and Assyrtiko, almost inseparable, it sounds like. How did it then move beyond Santorini, if it was so adapted there?
It wasn't a fast process, more of a gradual spread. I think winemakers elsewhere saw its potential, that amazing acidity, the structure it has,
Oh, okay.
and its surprising adaptability, actually. So other islands than the mainland, they started recognizing what it could do in their own soils, their own climates, but it took time.
The sources mention this phrase, perfect symbiosis between the grape and Santorini. That sounds quite profound. What does that really mean?
It really captures it well. Think about Santorini's environment. It's shaped by its volcanic past,
Yeah.
right? So you have this soil ash, lava, pumice, sand. Not much organic matter, but it drains incredibly well, yet somehow holds moisture deep down.
Wow.
And crucially, almost no clay, which means phylloxera, the vine louse, can't survive. That's huge.
No phylloxera. So the vines are on their own roots.
Exactly. Ungrafted vines, which is incredibly rare globally. Then add the strong winds, the miltimi.
Right, I've heard about those winds.
They're intense, which
Yeah.
led to that unique kouloura training system. The basket shape low to the ground protects the grapes.
Clever.
And even subtle altitude changes on the caldera slopes play a role. It's this whole package that Assyrtiko didn't just adapt to, it thrived in. This specific environment helps concentrate everything in the grape, the flavors, the compounds that give it that mineral edge and aging ability.
So it wasn't just like a local specialty hidden away for ages. It had a role elsewhere in Greece, too.
Oh, definitely. For centuries, its ability to hold on to acidity, even in hot weather, made it super valuable for white wines across Greece, maybe in blends, maybe on its own. It was
A
reliable.
workhorse grape, almost.
In a way, yeah, but a high-quality one. And now we're seeing this big rediscovery, this
Yeah.
international excitement. People want wines with a story, with a sense of place, and Assyrtiko delivers that.
Okay, let's talk more about that sense of place terroir. We know Santorini is key, but what are the ideal conditions generally, and how do other Greek regions compare?
Generally, you're looking at a Mediterranean climate, warm, dry summers, mild winters, and well-drained soils are crucial. Volcanic or sandy is kind of the jackpot, like Santorini.
Right.
But other places are doing great things with it too. On islands like Paros or Naxos, you might find more calcareous soils like limestone.
And how does that change the wine?
It can give a slightly different feel, maybe a softer acidity, sometimes more floral notes compared to that stark, almost salty minerality you get from Santorini's volcanic soil.
Interesting. What about mainland Greece?
Well, coastal areas might add their own hint of salinity. And if you go to higher altitudes, say in Macedonia or Attica up north, you get a longer growing season. That can mean maybe more complex aromas, a bit more finesse sometimes.
So, tasting them side by side, a Santorini versus a Macedonian Assyrtiko, you'd really notice the difference.
Oh, absolutely. Terroir is huge for Assyrtiko. That flinty, wet stone thing, the really sharp acidity, the structure that screams Santorini volcanic soil.
Okay.
Wines from elsewhere will still taste like Assyrtiko. It has a strong personality, but they'll show different facets, maybe riper fruit, maybe a rounder feel, different herbal notes. It's
Wow.
all about that specific spot where it grew.
Let's zoom in on the vine itself.
Yeah.
Ampelog, if that's the word, right?
Yeah.
What does the Assyrtiko vine actually look like? The leaves, the grapes.
Yep, ampelography.
Yeah.
So the leaves are medium-sized, sort of pentagonal, usually 5 lobes, and they have this noticeable fine fuzzy hair on the underside.
Okay.
The grape bunches are medium to large, kind of cone-shaped, maybe pyramid-like sometimes, medium compactness, and the berries themselves, round, medium-sized, green-yellow skin. It can get these nice golden tints when it's really ripe.
And the skin, thick, thin.
Medium thickness, which is good, protects the juicy pulp inside. And that pulp, of course, is packed with that signature high acidity.
And its growth cycle. When does it bud? When does it ripen?
It's pretty average for budding time, sort of mid-spring, but ripening is medium to late. So it hangs on the vine for a good while into late summer, maybe early autumn.
Which helps develop flavor.
Exactly. It builds complexity while, crucially, holding on to that acidity. And it's remarkably tough, handles lack of water and high heat really well, which is essential in Greece.
You mentioned the kouloura in Santorini before. Can you describe that again? And what about elsewhere? How do they train the vines?
Right, the kouloura, it's really striking. They weave the vine canes into a low-to-the-ground basket shape. The grapes actually grow inside this basket.
Wow, really? Inside?
Yeah, it shields them from the fierce winds and the scorching sun. It creates this little microclimate. It's ancient wisdom, perfectly adapted.
Amazing. And other regions?
Elsewhere, you're more likely to see what's called espalier systems. That's where vines are trained up on wires, more like you see in many other parts of the world. Allows for different kinds of airflow and sun exposure, maybe better suited to less windy or intense climates.
Makes sense.
But regardless of the system, careful pruning is key. You need to manage how vigorously it grows, control the yield, how many grapes per vine to make sure you get concentrated, high-quality fruit. Managing the leaves, the canopy, for the right amount of sun and air is also vital. And, of course, managing water where it's scarce.
It sounds like a lot of work, especially in Santorini with the wind and lack of water.
It definitely presents challenges. Water is a big one there. The wind is constant. That kouloura system is a brilliant response to the wind. But remember that huge advantage Santorini has.
That phylloxera thing.
Exactly. No phylloxera means they don't need to graft their vines onto resistant American rootstocks, which almost everyone else in the world has to do. Those ancient own-rooted vines are pretty special.
Okay, so the grapes are grown, harvested. Now the winery. What happens next?
Yeah.
How do they typically make Assyrtiko? And how do they get such different styles from one grape?
Right, so the winemaking usually starts with very gentle pressing. You want the pure juice without harsh stuff from the skins. Then fermentation, where the magic happens, sugar to alcohol, flavors developing.
Temperature controlled.
Often, yes, especially for the fresh styles. Keeping it cool, maybe 15, 18 Celsius in stainless steel tanks, helps preserve those bright primary aromas and freshness.
Some use oak.
Some do, yes, or maybe cement tanks. Fermenting or aging in oak, new or used, can add complexity, texture, different flavors like vanilla or spice. It depends on the style the winemaker is aiming for.
And what about that acidity? Do they ever soften it?
That's a key decision. There's a process called malolactic fermentation that converts sharp malic acid to softer lactic acid. For many Assyrtikos, especially the classic Santorini style, they actively avoid it to keep that signature crispness.
Got it. And after fermentation, aging.
Various options there too. Some just stay in stainless steel to keep things fresh. Others might age in oak barrels. A very common technique is aging surai, leaving the wine on the dead yeast cells.
Surai. What does that do?
It adds texture, body, and complexity. Think biscuity or yeasty notes. Sometimes they stir the lees, that's called bâtonnage, to enhance that effect. Some are even using amphorae now, those clay vessels.
So all these choices lead to the different styles we find.
Precisely. You get that classic, super fresh, mineral style, mostly stainless steel, all about citrus, that stony edge, bracing acidity, usually from Santorini.
Okay.
Then you have Assyrtikos with more structure, more potential to age, maybe some skin contact before pressing, maybe some oak, definitely lees aging. These show riper fruit, maybe herbs, yeast notes, spice, fuller body, built to evolve.
And then there's Vinsanto. That sounds completely different.
Oh, it is. Vinsanto is a whole other world. It's a sweet wine, a Vin du Naturel, also from Santorini.
How's it made?
They take Assyrtiko grapes, often blended with a couple of other local white grapes, and they dry them in the sun for days, sometimes weeks.
Sun-dried. Wow.
Yeah, it concentrates the sugars, the flavors, everything intensely. Then this incredibly rich must ferments very, very slowly. And after that, it ages oxidatively in old oak barrels for years, sometimes decades.
Oxidatively, so exposed to air.
In a controlled way, yes. It develops these amazing complex flavors, dried figs, raisins, honey, coffee, nuts, spices. But because it started with the Assyrtiko, it still has this incredible acidity balancing the sweetness. It's magical and can age forever.
Sounds incredible. So the winemaker, the apologist, plays a huge role in deciding which path to take.
Absolutely critical. Their choices at every step define the final wine's character and quality.
So, okay, we have these different styles. What should we expect when we actually, smell and taste Assyrtiko? What are the core characteristics?
Aromatically, you'll almost always find citrus lemon, grapefruit, definitely. Often stone fruit, too, like white peach or apricot. But the real signature is the minerality.
Minerality. What does that actually smell or taste like?
It's hard to pin down exactly, but think flint, like striking rocks together or wet stones after rain. Sometimes a distinct saltiness, like a sea breeze. It's more a sensation and impression.
Interesting. Anything else?
You might get herbal notes, maybe chamomile or thyme. If it's seen lees aging, you could get yeast or brioche aromas. Oak brings toast or vanilla. But on the palate,
Yes.
acidity. Bright, vibrant, mouth-watering acidity is key, and structure. It's not a flimsy wine. It has presence, texture. That combination gives it freshness when young, but also the backbone to age.
And how does it change with age? You mentioned aging potential.
It evolves beautifully. Those primary fruit notes soften and become more complex. Think dried apricot, honey, beeswax, nutty notes. The minerality might integrate more, become less sharp. The acidity mellows, becomes part of the richer texture, which can get quite oily or unctuous in a really pleasing way. Again, terroir and winemaking really steer this evolution.
Okay, any tips for actually tasting it? Best temperature? Glassware.
Good question. For the young, fresh mineral styles, serve it fairly cool, maybe 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. That's about 50-54 Fahrenheit. It keeps them crisp.
And for the richer, older ones?
You can let those warm up just a touch, say 12 to 14 Celsius, 54 to 57 Fahrenheit. It helps release those complex aromas. A standard white wine glass is perfect. One that tapers in a bit at the top helps focus the smells.
And when tasting?
Give it a good swirl, really stick your nose in there, take a sip, let it coat your mouth. Notice the fruit, that minerality, and definitely pay attention to that zingy acidity and how long the flavor lasts.
All right, my favorite part. Food. Assyrtiko seems like it would be great with food. What are the classic Greek pairings?
Oh, it's a natural with Greek food, especially seafood. Think grilled octopus with lemon, fried calamari, grilled shrimp, steamed mussels. That salinity in the wine just clicks.
Makes sense.
Also great with grilled or baked whitefish, even sardines, Greek salad, obviously. Anything with lots of good olive oil and lemon. And fresh Greek cheeses like feta or mizithra. The acidity cuts through the richness nicely.
Sounds delicious. What about beyond Greek food?
It's surprisingly versatile. Mediterranean food in general is a great match, but try it with some Asian dishes too. Sushi, sashimi, maybe some non-spicy Thai or Vietnamese that uses citrus and herbs.
Really? Asian food?
Yeah, the acidity and minerality can work really well. Goat cheese is another classic pairing. Simply prepared chicken or other white meats. And it's fantastic with many vegetarian dishes, grilled vegetables, salads with bright vinaigrettes, anything with lots of herbs.
What makes it so food-friendly? Is it just the acidity?
The acidity is huge, yes. It cleanses the palate, cuts through fat, but the minerality plays a big role too. It complements salty foods like seafood and can add this savory layer to vegetable dishes. It's that balance.
Any final tips for creating, a great food and a Assyrtiko experience?
Well, get the temperature right, like we said. Use a decent glass. If you're having several wines, think about the order. Definitely try those Greek or Mediterranean pairings. They work for a reason.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid to experiment. And, learning a bit about the wine, where it's from, who made it, that always makes the whole experience better, I think.
Okay, zooming out again. Assyrtiko on the world stage. It really feels like it's having a moment, doesn't it?
It absolutely is. International recognition is definitely growing fast. Sommeliers, critics, wine lovers, people are getting really excited about its uniqueness, its quality, its story. You see it on top wine lists way more often now.
Are there specific producers or wineries that have really helped put it on the map?
For sure. From Santorini, names like Estate Argyros, Santo Wines, Gaia, Sigalis, Hatzidakis, they've been crucial pioneers, really pushing quality.
Okay, I've heard of some of those.
And beyond Santorini, you have states like Alpha Estate or Katimedjara Vasiliou also doing fantastic work, showing Assyrtiko's potential in different parts of Greece. They've all helped build its reputation globally.
Looking ahead then, what are the big challenges?
Yeah.
And the opportunities for Assyrtiko.
Well, challenges. Climate change is a concern for everyone, everywhere. How will it affect acidity levels, ripening? Water scarcity, especially on islands like Santorini, is a constant pressure. They need smart solutions.
And competition.
And competition, yeah. The global wine market is crowded. So telling Assyrtiko's story effectively, making it stand out, that's key.
But the upsides,
Yeah.
the opportunities.
Huge opportunities. Its unique character is exactly what many people are looking for now. Authenticity, terroir. Its
Right.
ability to age is a big plus. Greek wine in general is getting more attention. And wine tourism, especially somewhere beautiful like Santorini, that's a powerful way to connect with people.
So what's needed?
Continued focus on sustainable farming, more research maybe to fully understand the grape, and just smart, engaging marketing to keep building that momentum. The future looks bright, I think.
So wrapping up this deep dive, it's pretty clear Assyrtiko isn't just, another nice white wine.
Not at all. It's like a liquid piece of history tied to that volcanic rock in Santorini, but also proving itself adaptable and really significant on the world stage now.
And that versatility is just amazing. So many different expressions from one grape.
Exactly. From that laser-sharp, dry style through the complex aged versions, all the way to that incredible Vinsanto, it shows what a single variety can achieve when it finds the right place. Or places.
Any final thoughts on its journey? Where it's headed?
I think the key is that balance, respecting the tradition, like the kouloura. It's part of its identity, but also innovating to face modern challenges like climate change and always aiming for higher quality. It really is a treasure for Greece and for the wine world.
Definitely feels that way. A wine that gives you a real taste of place, a taste of history. So maybe a final thought for you to take away. Considering Assyrtiko's resilience, its ability to thrive and adapt, what other, maybe less famous grapes out there might have similar hidden potential, just waiting to be discovered and appreciated? Something to ponder until our next deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.